Hey everyone, it's Kat.
And Amber.
And we are
Wandering Soup, Black Lesbian Expats. I remember.
Okay, it seemed like you forgot for a second there. Okay, alright. It's Sunday. We're in Vietnam. And it's wet and hot. But mainly wet. It's been wet every day for like the last 7-10 days.
Yeah.
It's rained every day.
It's rainy season in full force. I mean, people are getting rain everywhere. Don't get me wrong, but we getting it here too.
It's bad.
Yeah.
When we were in Cambodia last year around the same time frame, I mean, it was horrible. This isn't as bad as Cambodia to me, at least where we're at. Because I've heard Da Nang is way worse.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's definitely worse in some areas of Vietnam than others. But, I mean, Vietnam is just all along the coastline, the whole country. So we're going to get the effects of any kind of storms off the water. That's just period.
But and it's been wet and it's muggy. So it's a humid New Orleans type wet, but it's not as hot this time of year. But hey, come here in May, you'll bake. Come here in October, you'll sizzle and wet. I don't know. But anyway, today we're going to talk about 5 things you need to do if you're planning on moving abroad. This is today, tomorrow, next year. These are the 5 things we think you need to do to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Only 5. There could be way more. But we're only going to talk about 5 today.
We're going to hit the main points. Kitchen and jugging.
Oh, you trying to bleed people out?
Got a little thug there. Sorry, the thug came out.
Alrighty. Okay. So first things first. You got to get money. Get money. Get money. You got to get money.
I'm sorry, that's the clean version.
Right, you got a little Kemet all up and down. You got to get some money. And when I say get money, I mean you got to save some money. You got to figure out how you're going to get some money or keep money coming in when you do that move. Get your savings account started up now. Figure out what your budget plan is going to be. Budget out the flight. Budget out your housing for 2 months. Budget out your food expenses for 2 months. You're going to have to bump it up a level if you're moving overseas because you won't have that security net of living in the States with family and friends who could possibly help you out. Because you're overseas, you're it. That's it. Point blank and simple. You don't meet people at first. And even if you do, just because you meet somebody and they're expatted and they're doing their thing doesn't mean that they're the person for you.
Right. Or you can trust. Right. And also I suggest, if possible, wherever possible, have multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
No matter how small or big or whatever. Like, if you have your main hustle, find a little side hustle too that you can do online or where you are locally in case you come up on a hustle, where you're actually going to be moving to. Whatever the case may be, try to have a backup for your backup. Like,
have a legal hustle
going on. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we all know that with COVID, people who had their main hustle got cut. A lot of English teachers, that shut down a lot for a lot of people over here. So there were a lot of people without jobs during the pandemic, and they're just now getting back in the swing of things. But that means months without income.
Right.
So you got to have, like Amber said, that first stream of income, but also if you can, get that second stream. If you can't, then you need to really, really invest in yourself. And by investing in yourself, we mean a savings plan. Keep a savings plan going. No matter what, no matter how much you want to spend, how much you want to indulge yourself, always have a savings plan.
Yeah, smart.
Yep. Next thing, number 2, start the process of getting rid of your stuff. Right? You can't bring it with you. And I know this is going to start an argument with some people. Because there was a big argument in a Facebook group recently. People are like, I want to take my stuff. I don't care what nobody said. It depends on really where you're moving to. If you're moving to Southeast Asia and you're packing up all this stuff, waste of money, time, and energy, because you can replace everything over here. Now if you're moving to, say, Mexico, somewhere like that, maybe even Alaska, maybe even Canada, transportation is a little bit easier, and it's landmass to landmass. You know what I'm saying? You're not flying, you're not putting on a boat. Go for it. Take your stuff. But if you're not doing all that, get rid of it. Start today.
Yeah. I mean, it's really just a matter of really deciding what is important to you.
Right.
Like, what is really important to you? Like, what can you really live without? and what can you not. And if there are things that you cannot live without, that you can't get somewhere else, then that you think you really cannot get anywhere else, then you might need to either rethink your priorities or rethink something. Because normally there isn't anything that you can't replace.
Right.
And we're going to get to, like things like necessities later on in the video. But, just decide what's really important.
Right. Almost everything materialistic you can replace. It just may be a different version of it, but you can definitely replace it. But if it's paperwork, a book that you have to have with you, a piece of equipment that, I don't know, maybe this is what you take with you everywhere you go in the world, take that. Don't even bother leaving that behind. But your couch, no. Don't bring your couch. You don't need your couch. You really honestly don't need your 500 book collection. But hey, that's on you. But other things like that. So just figure out what's important.
You might need that book collection. Let me holler at y'all real quick. You might need it. You just might not be able to take it with you. So then there's another expense of storing. So there you have to really prioritize what you are going to pay to keep things that you may or may not need to keep.
Don't ship your bed. You're going to find a bed over here. Don't ship. I would ship sheets though, because sheets are horrible. I don't know what it is, but sheets are horrible. Ship some sheets. Maybe some good towels.
Right.
Good towels are hard to come by.
Even though, watch your towels.
Somebody stole my towel out the dryer. Hey, it happens. So good towels, good sheets, definitely ship. A whole bed, no. A whole couch, not even necessary. A TV, not gonna do it. You can always buy that stuff. Yeah. May not have it the first day you get there,
right?
But you're gonna get it eventually. You're gonna level it up. So just know you're gonna do that. Move forward. Mm-hmm. Next thing up, number 3, do your paperwork, people. When I say do your paperwork, we're talking about research. Make sure your passport's up to date. When they give you an option, if you don't have your passport, get the bigger book. The card isn't necessary. It's just an extra. You can have it if you just want to have it, but you definitely need the passport book. Again, get the bigger book with the more pages in it. You're going to need that. Know the laws in the land, visa-wise. What kind of visa can you get? Is it a tourist visa? Is it a work visa? Which one applies to you? And then once you get all that straightened out, read it again. Make sure you're not missing something, some nuance, some one sentence that totally obliterates everything you just did. Do it, check it once, check it 3 times to make sure that everything you have is in order. Check it when you start the process, check it in the middle of the process, check it at the end of the process, and before you get on the plane. Please check and make sure you have everything you need paperwork-wise.
Also, you always want to take a picture of your passport once you have it. You should always have a picture of it in your email,
right?
On your phone, in both places, preferably. So that's just because you might need it. Have it. Or you might just need to pull, if you don't have your passport on, you might need to pull it out and look at it. Also, you don't need to take a lot of stuff with you, as we've already said in the last step. But in terms of paperwork, there are some things you might want to take with you. Right. For instance, especially if you have children, like you definitely want to take your birth certificates. Take the children's birth certificates. It can come in handy. You never know. And if you can also leave a copy of those things with someone you trust back in the States, that helps. Just in case you need to do anything, then you can't be there to do it and someone else needs to, they have those things. So things like a copy of your original copy of your birth certificates and social security cards. Just always have stuff like that. Take it with you. You're going to need it at some point.
A social security card you won't need.
Report cards. Well, so what I've learned is that as you're doing things when you travel, that you still some people may ask you for things from in the States that you don't necessarily use while you're traveling. So have those copies of social security cards for you and your family, birth certificates, and also for those with school-age children, if you can get their transcripts or report cards before you leave, then have those too in your email or physical copies.
Right. Right, I can see that. Okay, because the Social Security card realistically isn't valid anywhere outside the U.S.
But you may need to show someone else.
Right. Now, a lot of people have asked too about your passport, like when you're checking into a hotel or renting an apartment, a home, they ask for a copy of your passport. They actually see your passport. Give it to them because that is your identification. It's like handing over your driver's license in the U.S. So no need to feel any kind of way about it. Think they're stealing your information. They are not. Mm-hmm. They're protecting you, and they're protecting themselves. So what happened with COVID that we found out is that passport was used to track us, which is what it should be. Right. When we entered Vietnam, they took all our information down. They checked the flight that we came in on to make sure that there was nobody who tested positive on that flight. And if we had tested or someone had tested positive, they could reach back out to us at our place of residence, which we had given the information to our landlord who had to turn it over to someone else and things like that. If that hadn't happened, there would have been a gap, right? And we could have been walking around sick or the possibility of being sick. And there's just other measures or other reasons why that information is needed. So again, don't fret, don't be upset if someone asks you for your passport when you're checking in somewhere. They need it.
Yeah. And that's another reason why you always have a copy somewhere or have a digital copy, a picture of your passport. Because if for some horrible reason you walk away and you forget and you've left your passport somewhere, guess what? You still have your passport number, you have your picture, you have all that somewhere. So,
and you can always get an emergency passport at the embassy. If there is an embassy in your country, I've had to get an emergency passport because mine got pickpocketed in Greece. It was very simple. Look into that. So make sure you know where your embassy is at in your country and what services they do offer. But again, emergency passport is one of the services. You will have to pay for it. It is not free. You'll basically be paying for a brand new passport. And it's a temporary one, so it's not the full deal and things like that, but it will help you get around. Now, if you're living over there, you may get the full deal. I got a temp one because I was living in the States at the time. And then when I came back to the States, I had a certain amount of time to get another one, which I already paid for with the temp one, which is the full price. It was just a very thin, only had like a page or two, and it was just enough to get me back home. And then I went to the passport office to get the next one issued, and I was good to go. So, number 4, join all the Facebook groups. Follow all the YouTubers for where you're trying to move to. Read everything you possibly can. There is no such thing as an information overload. There really is. If you feel like there is, walk away for a day or two and then come back to it. But there's always going to be something that someone tells you that you missed from someone else. And that's going to help you make the decision of, this is a place for you, or should I move when I get there? How should I navigate, right? You wouldn't even think about it, but a lot of those things are like, they just go into like eating. That's actually a big thing. You eat every day, right?
Right.
So you want to know, what's a good place to eat? When you first get there. You're navigating foreign languages, foreign spaces, and you're going to be an oddity. You're going to be looked at, So you want to just, try to be as comfortable as possible. And that means information has to be coming in, right?
Yeah. And remember that in these groups, people have been there talking about these things for way longer before you got there. So go ahead, go in once you get accepted and do a search in the group for the things that you care about. Right. Like search housing or search apartments or search Black people if the treatment of Black people is your concern in this area.
Being gay.
And see what the discussions are, because before you even ask a question, I promise you someone else probably has already asked it.
Right. The Facebook groups are Google, but very Google specific. Meaning you don't have to narrow down your search as much because someone's asked that question. You can post a simple query in a Facebook group versus a more complex query on Google. So ask a question. You're going to hear you're going to get an answer from a conversational standpoint. It's going to be much more simplistic, if that makes any sense, because it's going to be, this is what I did, this is what happened to me, and that's what you really truly want. Is that type of information. And Facebook groups are great. I mean, I'm in probably 100 travel Facebook groups, and I stay in them because I'm always getting information. And we talk about the information that we come across during the day. I'm like, well, we're going here. This is what I read today in this group, and this is what I read today. So we need to be doing this, and we need to be doing that, and we need to think about these things. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
Right. So again, join all the groups. Follow the YouTube people that interest you in the area that you're moving to. Research being an expat, being black, being gay, being everything but a local in that new area. Just that simple.
That's it.
Yep. And the last thing, number 5, get your medical together. Go to the doctor before you leave. Figure out what's wrong with you, if there's anything wrong with you. This is young or old. Go to the doctor. Right? What you also need to do is make sure that the meds that you're prescribed, if you're on medication, can be gotten in your new home country. It may not be. There's a lot of things that are legal in the U.S. that are not legal overseas. And their pharmacies are different in the sense that, like, if you go to the pharmacy and, like, you want some probiotics, they generally sell you a sleeve. They don't sell you the whole box first.
Right.
They sell you 6, 8. And you have to tell them, no, I want the entire box. Because we're so used to, as Americans, having to buy the entire package. It helps if, like, you got a cold, right? And you think you're only going to have the cold for 2 or 3 days. You don't need a whole box of meds. This is perfect. You go there, you get you 4 days worth of meds, and you go home, and you're fine.
I love it.
It is. It's perfect. But that stuff is not going to be easily accessible. You can't just walk up and grab it. It's behind the counter. So, that's common stuff. So you can only imagine the prescription meds and the access that you may not have to them. So you need to figure out with you and your healthcare provider, how are you going to get those meds, what those meds translate to in the new country, and again, how you're going to get them.
Right. So that goes back to when we were talking about not taking everything you need, because obviously there's some things you need, like medicine, like supplements. So I didn't really I knew I was anemic all my life, but it didn't become an issue for me until this time of my life. Right. And so it wasn't until we were traveling that it really affected me. So that's when I had to find my iron and the iron supplements that worked for me and things like that. So some things you won't really know about maybe until you start traveling. But if you go to the doctor before you leave, you can clear a lot of stuff out of the way. You can find out about a lot before you ever go. And then if you need those supplements, those are things that you need to take with you. At least a certain supply. Like, if you don't know exactly how long you're going to be traveling, at least take a month's supply of, say, a supplement with you. That way you don't have to worry about trying to find it right away. But once you get to a point where you can, then you can buy more. Right. So that type of thing. But that's the main thing, is like the things you need for your health. Right.
Definitely take them. Amber is iron deficient. I have eczema. I have allergies. So I took enough allergy meds. And actually, I haven't run out of my allergy pills. No, I take that back.
We ordered some
more. That's right.
But that's what we brought some with us, obviously.
It lasted about 6 months.
So we were able to, we had plenty of time to find more, which we were able to find.
Right. So, and now what's been an issue is the soap that I use because of my eczema. So we haven't been able to find that. So I had to switch. And we went to Dove. But a lot of the soap over here has bleach in it. It's perfumey. So you're going to have to think about those things that affect you on a day-to-day basis. And if you may need to bring some of that stuff to last you for, like she said, a month, 30, 60 days. I would say 60 days just because that's fair. Because I don't like shopping as much. Amber likes to hit the pharmacies, man. She loves the pharmacies here. I don't know why.
The exaggeration.
Y'all, every city we move to, the first stop for Amber is the pharmacy.
There's stuff we need.
We don't. We have
and if we're
stuff.
out of it, then
I have stuff. Amber just likes pharmacy. She likes to see what they're going to offer. And she's like, oh, this is great. And the pharmacies here are different. They're not Walgreens and CVS. They're not as big. And and each pharmacy is not going to offer the same thing. So that's another thing.
You got to know what you want. Like, if you know you use ibuprofen and you don't use Tylenol, or you use Tylenol, not ibuprofen, you need to know what the generic names are for the products that you use, because they're not going to have that brand name that you're looking for necessarily. Right. You're going to have to go in and say, can I get some acetaminophen? And you may not be able to say it in that language. You may need to show them a picture of the acetaminophen. And then they go, oh, yeah, we got that. And they give you Translate. They give you what they have, their version of it or their brand of it.
Right.
So you just need to get kind of familiar with the things that you use regularly and what the generic names for those are.
Right. Yeah. So those are the top 5 things you need to do to prepare yourself for the move abroad. And these are not super complex, but they are things you need to think about. Each one of those is a step in the process, and it's not the only step. There's so many more subtle, little bitty, hipply. I don't know what hipply means, but yeah, that's what that means though. There's little bitty steps that you have to take. And some of these we didn't do as well as we should have when we moved abroad. And some of these we did exceptionally well. So find what works for you. Get at least touch on all of these before you make that move. And you should be good to go.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. I am Kat.
And I'm Amber.
And we are
Wandering Soup, y'all. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Do all the things, please.
We'll see you on the next video, y'all. Peace and love.